Alright, so in this video, we are talking about IB syllabus, applications and interpretations, a very difficult part, which is called type 2 errors, alright? So for like explaining what is type 2 error, so we just actually look through the YouTube videos that there are a lot of YouTube videos explaining about type 1, type 2 errors, alright? So and then I just try to show the calculation steps of using GDC to solve this problem, right? So and therefore, I just skip the first three parts because for the first three parts, it's just about other thing, type 1 errors, and then state the null hypothesis as well, right? So and then the original claim is that the mu should be 20,000, all right? And therefore, we are just trying to use 20,000 that, which is claimed to be the mean number of visitors, all right? So, and then according to the visual presentation, the graphical presentations, so which is something like this, right? 20,000 here. And actually, the actual mean value of the transportation commissions is now 21400. That means we may have to accept the null hypothesis, which is 20,000 if the significance levels is actually 0.05, right? So, which means that, first of all, the first thing that we need to find should be finding out the critical value in which alpha is 0.05, all right? So according to TI-84, the GDC, so basically we just find out the inverse T statistics first, which is this part, okay? And then after we figure out the inverse T statistics using 0.95, which is the significance level, as well as the DF, the degree of freedom, which is using the number of data minus 1, all right? Number of samples, sorry. And then we just store the variable C value with the T statistics. And then for the second part, we are just trying to find the SEM, the standard error of margin. Okay, that helps us to find the critical value actually. So in which we use the sample standard deviation, which is 1,800, and then divided by the number of data square root, okay, which is the sample size, and then we take square root, and then we put it into the variable E. And then after that, we just use the T statistics multiplied by the standard error of margin, and then we add up with the claimed mean value, which is 20,000. And then we will get the critical value here, which is 20695.96252. All right, so and then after we get the critical value here, so actually for this region, we are trying to accept the null hypothesis, right? Okay, so accept the null hypothesis means we think that the claimed mean is true, which is 20,000. But for type 2 error states that although we just try to accept the null hypothesis, but in fact, the null hypothesis is not really true because the actual mean is 21400, right? So that means we are trying to calculate the probability value here according to the new actual mean value, which is 21400. And therefore, making use of this critical value, and then we just go back to find the T statistics using the new distributions, which is the red one, the actual one, all right? And therefore, we just use 20695.96252, and then we subtract it by the actual mean value divided by the standard margin of error. So, and then eventually we'll get the T statistics of the actual mean. And then we use TCDF, and then this is negative infinity, which is from far side, which is negative infinity here, right? Negative infinity to this value, and then we just try to calculate the probability value with the degree of freedom, which is 20 minus 1. And then eventually we will get the type 2 error of this part, which is around 4.82%, right? 0.0482, which is actually 4.82% here. So, and this part should be the type 2 error that we calculate, all right? Okay, so for this video, so this time we are trying to talk about if the population mean, which is here, is given in the questions, and also the population standard deviation is also given. All right, sample size n equals to 20, which is claimed to have the sample mean of 2, 1, and then 3 zeros. So an alternative mean, which is mu1, is to be tested against the original mean at 0.05 significance level. So then determine the size of the type 2 errors for this time. And because this time we know that the population standard deviation alpha is known, which is this value. Okay? And therefore it will be used regardless of whether or not the sample standard deviation is known. So when the values needed, C and D, are found the same way as in the earliest t-test. But this time, instead of using a t-test, because the known population variance and the known population mean is given, so therefore we use z-test, all right? So and because of this, all right, so for this time we can just use inverse normal instead of finding the t-statistics, critical value, something like that, all right? So, and then upon using the inverse normal, we can find the critical region here. The critical value, all right? So, and then for this part, we are just trying to find the distributions here, which is 20,000, and then the critical value of 0.05 significance level should be 205,988.48072. And this time, the actual mean value is similar to the previous case, right? Which is also 21400. So, and what we are calculating should be this part. So, and then this time, again, we use normal CDF from negative infinity, which is here, negative infinity, all the way to the critical region here, the critical value. And we are using the same standard deviations, and then we get the value here should be 0.016565. So, and this is what we are going to calculate, all right? So, and then you see actually the idea should be the same, regardless of whether you're using T distributions or C distributions, right? So, but just make sure that you're using the correct one, all right? If the population mean is given, so we can just use z-test. So otherwise, we have to use t-test. So this is the idea about these two examples. And then I hope the calculation of type 2 errors is difficult, but not manageable, right? So we can see that it's kind of like after you get the method, so it's not very difficult for us to like familiarize ourselves to finish it, okay? So I hope this video can help you to like calculate the first, the most difficult part, which is about the type 2 errors, and then help you to gain some marks in your IB public examinations. All right, good luck.